Hey everybody, welcome back to Sounds Like a Drum. If you're new to the channel, this is the series where we cover all things related to tone, tuning, drum sounds in general, and just practical advice related to the world of drums and drumming. Today we've got an extra special deep dive for you into the world of Welch Tuning Systems and their single point cable tuning system. A little while back we did a snare spotlight on the Welch Tuning Systems snare drum, and we've actually got a full set, two full sets in fact, of Welch Tuning Systems drums here in the studio right now. We've been having a blast with them for a while, and we've been putting together some additional videos for you, and today we wanted to really get into the nuts and bolts or cables and turning keys related to the Welch Tuning Systems process. How does that actually work? Is it difficult to change heads? What are all the aspects of it that you need to be aware of? The basic concept behind Welch Tuning Systems is this cable tensioning process for applying tension to both the batter head and the bottom head of any drum, whether it's snare drum, toms, or even the bass drum. Now I have to say, when I first heard about this system and saw it in person, I was a little concerned because I almost never tune the batter and the Reso head to the same pitch. It's just not the approach that I take. But after getting to experiment with these now outside of the confines of a loud trade show floor, I'm really impressed with how they sound with both the batter head and the Reso head tuned to the same pitch. So in general with this system, all I'm really thinking about is the pitch of the overall drum. I'm not thinking about individual points on the batter head or the Reso head. I'm not thinking about even the batter head independently from the Reso head. I'm thinking about the entire sound of the drum. As a result, it means that you can tune up a kit and get a completely different sound in literally seconds without having to just freak out about all the individual details of lugs and things like that. One of the things that I find particularly interesting about this system is it also allows for some fun little effects. Just by squeezing the cables on the toms, I can change the pitch or get a pitch bend out of those drums while I'm playing them. This is similar to if you were to put your elbow into the drum head or press your thumb into them or something like that while you're playing, but instead of muffling the drums while you're doing it, you have the full resonance of the drums. So how does this system really work? Well, you've got a cable that's running from the tuning point all the way to every single location where you would normally have lugs, going back and forth between the batter side and the Reso side. As a result, every time you turn that tuning key up a little bit or down, it's changing the entirety of the tuning. It's changing the tension of the batter head and the Reso head simultaneously. And it's doing it all the way around the drum, not just at the location of the tuning key, but around the entire circumference of the shell. As a result, you get a really interesting but pure tone overall. This combined with the shell that's resonating a little bit more freely because it doesn't have the added hardware of lugs on board, creates for a very distinct sound. This particular set of drums is the 3/4 size portable set of artistry drums from Welch Tuning Systems. They feature 8 plies of maple dual 45-degree bearing edges, which is pretty standard these days. 12-coat lacquer process that I am really impressed with. The look on this is super consistent. It's kind of a satin finish to it, so it doesn't have a crazy gloss, but it looks really classy. And then all the drums are outfitted with 2.3 millimeter triple flange hoops. The only holes in the drum shells themselves are for mounting the tuning key apparatus and then the ports, the actual air ports that are on each of the drums. There aren't any lugs or anything like that to worry about, and with this system, all you have to do is just have a cable running from the top to the bottom to the top to the bottom all the way around the drum, and then they connect back to that single point where you can adjust the tension, either lowering or raising the tension of both the batter head and the Reso head simultaneously. Now you can see here that there aren't traditional tension rods on any of these drums. All of them feature a little pulley system that's attached onto the hoop at the location where you would normally have the lugs present. These pulleys have the cable running through them back and forth between the batter side and the Reso side, allowing for even distribution of tension. I have to say I'm really impressed with the sleek design of all of this hardware, whether it's the bass drum claws or the system, the pulleys on all of the individual drums. I just love the look of it all, and it functions really cleanly too. All of this hardware doesn't actually add that much mass to the drum, and in fact it seems like it's a lot less material weighing down the shell than if you had traditional lugs on board. Because all of these pulleys are directly attached to the hoops rather than the shell, you effectively have a free-floating drum shell, with the only exception being the hardware that's attached on for the tuning key, and then with the snare drum, both the snare mechanism and the snare butt plate. Today we've got Evans G1 coateds on the tom batters, G1 clears on the tom Resos. We've got an Evans UV1 coated batter on the snare, and then a snare side 300 on the bottom side. The bass drum has a UV EMAD on the batter side, and then just a UV1 on the Reso. Now I'm sure quite a few people are wondering, how do you actually go about replacing heads on these things? Is it tougher than usual? Is it easier than usual? What's the process? So just to give you a quick demonstration so you can get an idea, here's how you would actually remove the hoops and get the heads off of the drum. You start out simply just by detensioning the drum. You're just gonna loosen up this tuning key to the point where all the cable is just completely slack. You can see that all this cable is just very, very loose. You're gonna completely undo that, get it to the point where the cable isn't wrapping around the ferrule on the tuning portion anymore, and then you're actually able to pull the cable off of that tuning rig. So now we'll just pull the cable off, and the cable completely detaches from the ferrule, and then we can actually pull the cable entirely off of the shell. At this point, the cable is only connected on one side of that tuning ferrule. So we are free to just take the hoops right off. And in fact, the shell comes all the way off too. So now you've got the heads on the batter side and the Reso side completely detached from the shell. And you can see the only thing left on here is just the tuning mechanism itself. And then we've got the cable that wraps all the way around. So you can swap out your heads, put the shell back on, make sure that you have the hoops offset so that the cable can run from the batter side to the Reso side to the batter side in kind of a zigzag pattern. And then all you have to do is just weave the cable right back through and go all the way around, connect it again, and tension it right back up. After doing this a few times, I found that I think I'm faster with this process than I am if you just have a single drum key and you've got to change out both the batter head and the Reso head on a drum. Thanks so much for watching this extra special deep dive into the Welch Tuning Systems drums, and thank you to Welch Tuning Systems for sponsoring this video. If you're interested in hearing more from these drums, we've got additional content that's available on our Patreon. Head to the link in the description below to check that out. And please, if you do have the financial means available right now, consider supporting Sounds Like a Drum on our Patreon. If you jump on board, we've got a variety of different tiers that offer everything from additional content, whether it's more demonstrations, some anecdotal experiences, all sorts of conversation, things like that. You also get access to free merch, as well as even the opportunity to do quarterly Skype calls with us. As always, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe below if you haven't already, and click on that little notification icon to make sure that you receive notifications every time we release a brand new video. We've got sporadic releases right now as we're finalizing our preparations for the launch of Season 3, and we want to make sure that you don't miss out on anything. Thanks again, and we'll see you all very soon.